Guys, please check your audio and video settings, please. Yes, I hope everyone studied yesterday's document. Guys, please check your audio and video settings, everyone. I hope everyone studied yesterday's document, my dears. Super, guys. Today our main topic is Spring MVC flow. I said, nah, so many people recognizes that you are my student by listening Spring MVC flow. Number one. Number two, if you answer Spring MVC flow properly, no more questions on Spring MVC. If you don't answer well, there are so many questions on Spring MVC. So it should not be there in your brain. It should not be there in your heart, because both may become weak anytime. But it should be there in the blood. Spring MVC flow should be there in your blood, so that 24/7 it is active. Spring MVC flow. Spring MVC flow. Yeah, in XML driven. Actually, much changes will not be there in XML driven configurations. Okay. I'll give code diagram flow. I will give code based flow. Both flows I will give, guys. Spring MVC is designed. This is very important. Spring MVC is designed around dispatcher servlet. That means all the activities from request arrival to response generation will be taken care by what is that, guys? Will be taken care by dispatcher servlet. Programmer develops some user defined components and uses some other ready-made components, as helper components. Programmer develops some user-defined components and uses some other ready-made components as what? Helper components. Okay, some other ready-made components as helper components. Are you getting my point there, guys? Some other helper components. Some other helper components for dispatcher servlet. Okay. Dispatcher servlet to place its joyous logics and operations in the flow of execution. To place user choice logics and operations in the flow of execution. To place user choice logics and operations in the flow of execution. Are you listening my statement, guys? Come on. Programmer develops some user defined components and uses some other ready-made components as helper components too. Components for dispatcher servlet to place EasyChoice logics and operation in the flow of execution. Entire flow is already decided by dispatcher servlet. It says after getting request, I do this, I do this, I do this. Okay. So in that places we take our some predefined, some user defined to get control on those activities. Flow cannot be changed, but by involving our choice components, we can get some grip on what logics and operations. Understanding my statement, guys? Listen, train route is same. Where train stops also same. Okay, by going to those stations, by going to those stations which are there in the route, we can become part of train journey. Train comes to you, you goes to Traina. Suppose Rajdhani Express is there. Rajdhani Express is there. Delhi to Chennai. Okay, fixed train route will be there, and where it stops also fixed. Okay, it never changes its route, it never changes its stations. Okay, if you want to become part of train journey, you go to station and you catch the train and travel in the train. Similarly, spring MVC flow decided by dispatcher servlet is fixed. Okay, what components it try to involve in the flow of execution also fixed. By using some of those components as user defined component, some of those components are predefined component, we can get some grip on flow of execution. We can involve our choice logic, we can perform our choice operation in the flow of execution. I think you are convinced or not. I think I'm trying to deliver is resisted. So flow is fixed, but components to be involved in that flow can be changed by programmer. So their programmer get the choice to do his choice activities, to execute his choice logics. Are you getting my point there, guys? Right. Now listen. Here is my browser. Here is my web server or application server. Here is my web server or application server. No hurry, no worry, boss. Slowly, slowly we will learn. If you understand, if you get 50% clarity on today's diagram, I'll be more happy. Another 50% clarity you will get when I give code-based flow. But if you have attended front controller design pattern with me, if you have attended Servlet JSP with me, don't surprise if you understand 100% as it is. Okay, because if your fundamentals are clear, you'll understand 100% today itself. If not clear, 50% you understand today, another 50% you will get the clarity later. Web server or application server. What is this, guys? Web server or application server, my dears. Okay, done. After that, what next? This is Spring MVC Spring MVC web application. Spring MVC web application. Yeah, Spring MVC web application. Right. In Hyderabad, it's raining heavily, boss. Heavily. So if like because of power failure, some other issue, if class cancels, don't take tension. Okay, don't take tension because it's raining heavily. Thunders are coming, so I think power problem may come. Still, I will try to take class till 7:30. I have inverter support. Okay, but still be prepared for the worst case. Spring MVC web application, guys. Okay, now listen. Here, dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet. Tell me it's a ready-made servlet or user-defined servlet? Dispatcher servlet. Okay. Front controller. Ready-made front controller. Ready-made front controller. Any URL pattern you can take, guys. That's not a issue. Not an issue. Star.htm, anything. Extension match. URL pattern. Slash also you can take. Extension match URL pattern. Okay. So it will be having system services, guys. System services. It will be having system services. Now listen, I'll give the number. Number one, programmer deploys Spring MVC web application in web server or application server. Number one, programmer deploys Spring MVC web application in web server or application server, guys. Web server or application server. That is number one. Number two. Number two. All deployment activities takes place. All deployment activities takes place as discussed yesterday. All deployment activities takes place as discussed in yesterday's class. Okay. Also do the things related to a load on startup enabled on dispatcher servlet. Come on, guys. Should I explain those things? What is number one? Deployment. Loading web.xml, checking well formed or not, valid or not. Creating in-memory metadata web.xml. That is number. Hmm. Okay, checks. Is there any listener configuration? Not there. So what it will do? Okay, check servlet context object is created. Check is there any filter configuration? Not there. Check is there any load on startup enabled servlet? Yes, there. What is the dispatcher servlet? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Okay, loads the dispatcher servlet class, creates the object, and as part of as part of what initialization, it executes init method of dispatcher servlet. Their logic is there to create IOC container of type XML web application context by taking dispatcher servlet logical name hyphen dispatcher servlet logical name hyphen servlet.xml as spring bean configuration file. In that process, in that process, all singleton scope beans of spring beans will be pre-instantiated. Necessary injections will happen, and they will be placed in internal cache of IOC container. Come on, guys. So number two. all deployment all deployment activities all activities related to deployment all activities related to deployment takes place. All activities related to deployment takes place. Related to deployment and load on startup load on startup related activities on DS also takes place. All activities related to deployment and load on startup related activities on DS also takes place. Are you there with me, boss? Also takes place. Understanding my statement, guys? Okay, refer previous class. Refer previous class. Next one, boss. Number three. Number three. Deployment related activities are done now, boss. Browser gives request to Spring MVC web application. Browser gives request to Spring MVC web application. HTTP request. That means request using HTTP protocol, guys. This is number three. By having one or other request URL, guys. By having one or other request URL. Come on. Yes. Okay. So this is two boxes. Huh? I found three. One, two, three, four. Four boxes are there, and many boxes will come. Concentrate, yeah. Concentrate. Okay. Three. Three, guys. This is HTTP request, guys. Super. Number four. Front controllers, dispatchers are late. Traps and takes the request and applies common system services. Applies common system services. Understanding my statement, guys? Okay, boss. Applies common system services. Okay. Browser gives request to Spring MVC web application. Spring MVC web application. Sheikh, without knowing common system services only, you are attending today's class. Huh? I introduced front controller DP. Where are you, man? Mr. Sheikh. Logging, auditing, security. Forgot, my dear. Logging, auditing, security. Mandatory minimum services are called system services. Okay, Spring MVC. Browser gives request to Spring MVC web application using protocol HTTP. Using protocol HTTP. Next, guys, number four. No hurry. Slowly we will learn. Slowly we will learn, guys. Don't worry. Now tell me here. Okay. The front controller. The front controller. Servlet DS. What is this? Dispatcher servlet. The front controller servlet DS, nothing but dispatcher servlet. Traps and takes the request and applies the common system services. Applies the common system services like logging, auditing, security, and etc. Common logging, auditing, security, and etc. Okay, boss. Now listen carefully, my dear. Listen carefully, my dear. Request processing logic will be placed either in what? Request processing logic will be placed in what? Either in controller class or service or DAO classes. But to communicate with that service and DAO classes also, this controller class or handler class will be there. Come on. So in Spring MVC application, no doubt, This class is called as what? Handler class. Handler or controller or action class. But action class is not so popular, guys. Okay. Handler or this one. This is a normal Java class, guys. This is a normal Java class. And it is having public, public, mav. Return type of the method is model and view. Public mav, predefined class, mav. Method name is handle request. In XML driven configuration, fixed method, guys. In annotation, it may change, but in XML driven configuration, it's a fixed method. Request comma response. Okay, MAU means model and view. It contains model data and also view logic, view related information. View related information. Now tell me here. Return MAU, return MAU some parameters. Return MAU some parameter. That's why given clearly it is what? Through XML driven configuration, this flow will work, boss. Are you listening my statement? When interviewer asks the question, can you explain Spring MVC flow? You ask reverse question. You need annotation driven flow na, XML driven flow na. XML driven, only two flows are there. For Spring Boot also annotation driven flow. Okay, for 100% code also annotation driven flow. Annotation based application development also annotation driven flow. Only for XML small changes are there. I will give that flow also, don't worry. Fine. Don't give generic flow. If you give generic flow, your specialty will not be there. You put reverse question, then you are give the flow, then you will be more happy. Understanding my statement? Okay. Public void. This is the fixed method, guys. Handle request method. We are having some controller class. Here we are having some controller class. Logic. Direct business logic or logic to interact with service oblique DAO classes. Logic to interact with service oblique DAO class. Okay, boss. Now listen. This is to handle one URL based request, boss. Okay, in one application, only one URL based request will be there, or lots of URLs based request will be there. That means only one hyperlink will be there, one form submit button will be there, or lots of hyperlinks and lots of submit buttons will be there. No doubt, you will be having lots of hyperlinks and lots of submit button, which will uses lots of URLs to generate the request. Understanding my point? That's why what it will do, dispatcher servlet hand over the request to a special component called handler mapping. A special component called handler mapping, which maps the current request to appropriate controller class. And this is under control of programmer. This is under control of programmer. Programmer gives an inputs to this handler mapping, boss. Programmer says, if request URL is ABC, please go to first controller class. If request URL is XYZ, please go to what? Second controller class. Are you listening my statement, boss? If request URL is something else, go to third controller class. Like this, we'll be having what, guys? One handler mapping. Are you listening my statement, boss? This is one handler mapping component, guys. Yes, this is our handler mapping. Yes, boss. Okay, this is my number 5. Number 5. What is the input it will give? URL, request URL. What I will get? What I will get? Controller class bean ID. I will get the bean ID of the controller class. That means what it will do? With the support of programmer, it will map each incoming request URL with one controller class by specifying the bean ID of the controller class. So it will return that bean ID or not. It will return that bean ID or not. Come on. Okay, boss. Okay, it will return that bean ID or not. Akshay Buse, through JavaScript events also we can generate request. Please. That is a old discussion. Don't show your talent, please. Yes, request can be generated through JavaScript event also. Happy now? Okay. I'm just giving basic awareness, boss. My intention is that. Now tell me, guys, the front controller servlet, the front controller servlet DS, the front controller servlet DS. Come on, guys. The front controller servlet DS. The front controller servlet DS handovers the request to handovers the request to handovers the request to handler mapping component. Yeah, it's a one more component, guys. Handler mapping component. Okay, to map incoming request URL URL to one controller class, one controller or handler class, and and gets gets that controller or handler class bean ID gets what? Controller class bean ID class bean ID back. Okay, boss. See, boss, 100 requests are given. 100 requests are trapped. Applies common system services. 100 URLs will be given to handler mapping. Anyhow, handler mapping is developed by programmer. It is under control of programmer, right? Programmer sincerely configures. If URI is abc.do or abc.htm, okay, go to controller one whose bean ID is this. So, okay, if other URL, go to controller class whose bean ID is this one. So happily that bean ID comes back to dispatcher servlet for each request or not. Come on, come on. Are those who studied front controller design pattern with me, it is like command helper or not? It is like command helper or not? I want reply. That is number 5, guys. Number 6. Number 6. Front controller DS submits the bean ID to DS created IOC container and gets controller class bean object. Controller class spring bean object. Array DS is having one IOC container, don't forget. To that IOC container, this received bean ID will be submitted by calling ctx.getBean method. Gets controller class spring bean class object or not? Controller class spring bean object or not? It will be configured as a spring bean internally, boss. Handler mapping will be configured as a spring bean except front controller servlet. Remaining all components will be configured in spring bean configuration file as spring bean, boss. Okay. This is number 6. Slowly, no hurry, worry, boss. This is number 6, guys. The front controller DS, the DS submits the received bean ID of controller class. Received bean ID of controller class and submits the bean ID to DS created. What created? DS created IOC container. And gets controller or handler class spring bean class object internally uses ctx.getBean method only. Internally uses what? ctx.getBean method only. I think if I don't teach yesterday separate flow for dispatcher servlet, can you understand this point, guys? At least now understood yesterday why I spent separate time for dispatcher servlet internals. What happens during the deployment of web application with respect to dispatcher servlet? I talked yesterday or not? I seriously talked yesterday or not, guys? At least you realized why I talked that. So now this point has become quite easy for us or not? That means there is IOC container in dispatcher servlet that is created dynamically. That point is now striking very easily or not? Without teaching yesterday's class, if I give this point, you will be feeling surprised. But now you are mentally prepared for that, right? Now you are mentally prepared for that. Are you accepting that point or not? Remaining all people will study, receives the bean ID and calls the method on controller class object. But after receiving bean ID, how does it is getting bean class object without IOC container? That generalization should happen or not? So that's why yesterday we got that knowledge and today we are improvising that knowledge. Happy, boss? No, why I'm trying to say like this, you are learning something new, something extra, something better. So keep that confidence in your brain. Chin up, collar up, and face the interviews confidently. So I'm not saying I'm only teaching kind of thing. I'm not showing attitude. Only my student knows. But I'm trying to give confidence in your brain. You know something better than others, more than others, more clarity in internals is there. Be confident. That's my humble request. Okay, here. Now tell me. Dispatcher servlet calls. Handle request method. What method, guys? Handle request method number 7. Handle request method on the received controller class object. What is this? On the received controller class object. Okay, guys. Method call on the received controller class object, guys. Okay, here onwards we'll use brown color, maroon color. Method call. Okay, that is number 7. And that method executes, guys. Number 8. Either it will directly process the request or takes the support of what? Service or DAO to process the request. Come on, guys. And keeps received generated result in model and view class object, guys. What object? Keeps generated result in model and view class object along with the logical view name keeps generated result in model and view class object. Are why it is not keeping directly JSP file name? Are Spring MVC allows different types of technologies in view. Okay, if I write my view component is abc.jsp. Tomorrow I changed JSP to velocity. I changed JSP to HTML. I changed JSP to what? Some Angular JS. Then what happens, guys? Again, I have to modify the source code of handler class or not. That's why very intelligently, it never returns a real physical view name, guys. It always returns logical view name to achieve the loose coupling. Though you are changing view technology time to time, you need not to touch. You need not to touch the source code, even though physical view name changed. Somewhere in property file, somewhere in XML file, we change logical view name pointing to physical view, and because of that, no need of touching source code. Indirectly, we are achieving what? Indirectly, we are achieving what? Loose coupling or not? Array, while teaching front controller also I have explained this, Babu. Don't keep surprising faces. This is number 9. This is number 9 MAV object. This is number 9 MAV object. What we are going to get is MAV object. MAV means model and view class object. So shall I give some points here, guys? Number 7. The front controller DS calls handle request method or some other handler method. Okay, handle request method on the on the on the received controller class object, controller class spring bean object, controller class spring bean object from IOC container, handle request method. Handle request method having request comma response objects on the received controller class spring bean object from IOC container. Simply from IOC container. Enjoyed my point, guys? That is number 7. Number 8. Tell me, guys. Okay, guys. Returns MAV object. Yes. Yeah, this is 9, guys. This is 9. MAV object came. After that, what, guys? Okay, that is number 8, which I have not written. I have not completed. Let me complete that one, boss. Number 8. The handle request method of controller class controller class either directly process the request or delegates the request to delegate means passes request to service comma DAO classes for request processing. Okay, boss. And keeps the received received or generated results. Received or generated. Direct request processing means received. Sorry, generated result. Talking to service means received results. And logical view name. Okay, in MAV object. In MAV object. MAV means what, guys? Model and view class object. MAV object. Model and view class object. Right, boss. Number 9. Okay. Handle request method of. Handle request method of controller class returns MAV object back to the front controller DS. Back to the front controller DS. Back to the front controller DS. Everyone got the clarity there or not there? Okay, up to this clear, guys? Model object and logical view name. Array, based on logical view name only physical view will be decided, right? DS uses DS uses logical view name to decide physical view later. Okay. And logical view name which will be used later to decide physical view. Which will be used later to know to decide physical view component. Physical view component. Come on. Physical view component like JSP, HTML, dot. Many things are there. Right. Now listen. Don't give up. Don't give up. I'm wantedly giving all numbers at once because I want you people to register each and every point. Number 10. Number 10. Come on, guys. Yeah. Dispatcher servlet receives MAV object, gathers the model data, and keeps in request scope. Keeps in request scope. Are you listening my statement, boss? Simply keeps in request scope. Understanding my statement here, boss? Why request scope? Array, this result for current request. Another request, another result. Next request, another result. When data is changing in request to request, better to keep in which scope? Request scope, session scope, application scope. When data is changing request to request, okay, better to keep in request scope only, na boss? So that each result will be vanished at the end of request processing and response generation. Next request, new result, again that will be vanished at the end of that request processing. Again third request, again new result, that will be vanished at the end of what? That third request processing. Got it or not there? Okay, number 10. Dispatcher servlet. 1 minute. The front controller, DS keeps result. The front controller DS keeps result, result collected from the MAV object in the request scope. In the request scope to make the results visible to physical view components. Okay. Why, sir? Why physical view components? Array, here request object is created, same thing is passed to controller, and same thing will be passed to JSP if I ask JSP to process the result or not. Okay, JSP, front controller, controller class, all are using same request object. So the data kept in one request object in one place can be used in another place or not. After all of them are using same request object, boss. See, boss, three people are using same joint account. Okay, withdraw done by one fellow will be known to other fellow or not. Deposit done by one fellow will reflect to other fellow or not. Because all three people are using same joint account, boss. Same joint account. Are you getting my point? Three people are staying in same home. Okay, modification done by one fellow in the home will be reflected to other fellows or not. Will be reflected to other fellows or not? I want reply. Definitely will be reflected, boss. Definitely will be reflected. No second thought in that. Okay, na? Fine, boss. Now listen. Dispatcher servlet gives the logical name received from MAV object to the logical name received from MAV object to view resolver. View resolver. This is also component that is under control of programmer. How handler mapping decides for which incoming request URL which controller class should be used. Similarly, for which logical view name which physical view component will be used. Not only name, location also will be decided. Not only name, location also will be decided. Are you with me, boss? Not only name, it also decides the location, guys. Super. Here is my what, guys? View resolver. Here is my view resolver. So now tell me here, guys. Right. What it will give was number 11. Number 11. LVN gives LVN logical view name to view resolver. Array, this view resolver takes the logical view name and gives, it won't transfer control to physical view. It will give, come on, it will give view object. One view object is there having name and location of physical view. Having name and location of physical view. Understanding my point, guys? It will give view object having name and location of physical view. So ultimately, you will get view object having name and location of physical view. Physical view component. Having name and location of physical view component. Yeah, this is going to be what, guys? 12. Clear, guys? Clear, guys? Come on. Dispatcher servlet receives. 1 minute. 12. Color. I want to maintain, nothing else. 12. Dispatcher servlet receives that view object which is having name and location of physical view component. 13. On that object it calls one fixed method render. Are you listening my statement, guys? One fixed method render. Because of this render, control goes to physical view. Array, that render internally uses rd dot forward kind of thing. That render internally uses rd dot forward kind of thing, response dot send redirect kind of thing. One or other technique it will use to reach to physical view. To reach to physical view component. Are you getting my point, guys? Physical view component. Physical view component. This is my presentation logic. Here is my presentation logic, guys. Definitely this is my presentation logic. Physical view component like JSP, HTML, okay, free marker, velocity. Array, it's view is an abstract entity, boss. View is an abstract entity. Okay, guys. 13, 14. Control goes to physical view component. Right, boss. This physical view component receives the request scope data. Why, sir? Request came here, request object is created until response goes to browser. This, all of them are going to use same request object. After receiving MAU object, results are kept in which scope, guys? Request scope. That means this and this all are using same request object. Happy it can receive the data and format the result by using format presentation logic or not? Presentation logic or not? Come on. So number 13, number 15. What is 15? Physical view component uses presentation logic to format the results that are received from the request scope. Are you understanding my point? Yes. Formatted results are now given back to formatted results are now given back to formatted results are now given back to front controller dispatcher servlet. Front controller dispatcher servlet. Number 16. Front controller dispatcher servlet. Super, boss. Once that is done, okay, formatted result goes to browser. The formatted result goes to browser as final response. Okay, HTTP response. HTTP response. Yes, number how much, guys? 17. Number 17. with this flow is ended, boss. I think maza aa gaya or feeling heavy. Feeling heavy means Servlet JSP fundamentals are bit weak, but no problem. You will get idea when you go for code based flow. Code based flow. Once again, see this number. Okay. Yes, boss. Number 11. What is number 11? What is number 11, guys? Gives logical view name. Okay, someone is saying this much hangama for one request. Array, this is fixed flow for all requests. Okay, and we have to just develop only what? Controller class logics and some XML touches or annotation touch related to handler mappings. Okay, so only these two things we develop, guys. Remaining all are ready made. Some of them will get takes inputs from programmer. Only these two things we have to develop. But we are able to complete MVC to architecture by just developing two components physically. Look at the advantage part. This is not for one request. You have 1,000 requests. You have 1,000 requests. Then also we have to develop only these two things. Are you listening my statement? Think of the long run advantage. The front controller, tell me, DS gives logical view name collected from the MAV object to view resolver. Listen carefully. View resolver. Everyone listen to me carefully, my dear. What is that, guys? View resolver is there to render the view or to resolve the view, to identify the view. View resolver is not there to render to the view or to present the view or to transfer the control to view. It is just there to identify the view, to tell that what is view. Resolver is identifier, that's it. Collected from MAV object to view resolver. Number 12. View resolver. View resolver. Okay. View resolver identifies the name and location of physical view component based on the given logical, based on the received logical view name. Based on the received logical view name. Name and location of physical view component based on the received logical view name. Number 13. Number 13. The front controller DS 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 gets view object. Front controller DS gets view object from view resolver having physical having okay view object, that's already discussed. Number 14. Number 14. The front controller DS calls render method on view object and which internally calls rd dot forward or send redirect or something else or something else or something else to to send the to send to locate and execute to locate and execute physical view component to locate and execute physical view component. Number 15, the presentation logic of view component gets the results from request to scope. Gets the results from request to scope. Render means what here? Render is one method, boss. Rendering means rendering, sending. Ravi, without knowing rendering only you completed engineering. Rendering means sending. Render method, render is one method. Sir, one method is called, how handle request method is called. Here render method is called. Render method is having rendering logic. Rendering logic means displaying or sending kind of thing. Presentation logic of view component gets the result from request scope and process the result by using presentation logic. Okay, by using presentation logic. By simply using presentation logic. Yes, boss. Yes, look at the diagram. By simply using presentation. 16, 17. 16, guys. 16. Tell me, guys, the formatted results goes to front controller DS. Front controller DS from physical view component. From the physical view component. From the physical view component. 17. Okay. Same results goes to browser. Goes to browser as HTTP response. What, guys? As HTTP response from front controller servlet. From front controller servlet. As HTTP response from front controller DS. Front controller dispatcher servlet. Come on, guys. Right. Now I will explain the flow one more time, then I will take your doubts. Number one, we deploy web application to web server. Number two, all deployment related activities will happen. In-memory metadata, web.xml, IOC container creation, in-memory metadata of Spring Bean configuration file, pre-instantiation of singleton scope bean, completing injections, everything. Everything will be done. Okay, number three, browser gives request by typing request URL. As front controllers are led, DS traps and takes the request. DS traps and takes the request and applies common system services. Number five, handler mapping component. What, guys? The handler mapping component. Okay. The handler mapping component. Are you listening my statement, guys? The handler mapping component maps the incoming request URI with controller class and returns controller class bean ID to dispatcher servlet. That is 5. Number 6, bean ID of bean ID is submitted to DS created IOC container, gets the controller class object. Number 7, calls the handle request method on controller class object by DS. Handler request method execute request processing logic, either directly process the request or takes the support of service and DAO to process the request. Whatever result comes, it will be kept in MAO object along with the logical view name. Number 9, returns MAO object back to dispatcher servlet. Number 10, okay, what is next? Number 10, keeps MAO object in DS. Keeps okay, receives the MAO object, gathers the results and keeps in request scope. Number 11, logical view name gathered from MAO object will be given to view resolver. One more component which is under controller of programmer. View resolver resolves or identifies physical view name and component based on received logical view name. Okay, guys. Next, number 12. It returns view object having physical view name. 13. View object is received by DS and DS calls render method. What method, guys? Render. Are one fixed method, guys. Render. Calls render method. Calls render method, which internally uses rd.forward response.send redirect to transfer the control to, okay, to locate and execute physical view component. Number 15, physical view component receives generated result from request scope and using presentation logic, it formats the results. Using presentation logic, it formats the results. Number 16, sends formatted results back to front controller servlet. Number 17, front controller dispatch servlet sends those results back to browser as HTTP response and browser displays it as a web page. Okay, now listen. HTTP servlet comes under which layer, guys? Sorry, front controller servlet comes under which layer? This is controller layer. Agree with me? Controller layer. Yeah, this comes under which layer? Handler class or this one? If you place business logic directly, then controller. No, if you are not placing okay, sorry. If you are placing business logic directly, then it is model layer. No, you are not placing business logic directly here. You are keeping them in service and DAO classes. Here you are just keeping logic to transfer the control to service class. Then it is controller, guys. Handler mapping always comes under controller layer. Why? And it is just helping dispatcher servlet na babu. That's why. View resolver always comes under what? Controller layer. Controller layer, view layer. Controller layer, view layer, controller layer. Why? Because it is helping dispatcher servlet to decide who is our view component, right? Physical view component, no doubt in that. Physical view component always comes under view layer. No second thought in that. No second thought in that. I think now we decided which come under which category, which falls under which category, guys. Next. Okay, let me ask some, okay, you people take some queries. So please take some queries. If anywhere confusion is there, type the number on the console, I will explain. But before that, I'm giving 5 minutes time. I want you people to see each number should flow internally. should feel internally flow. Like this, you would have answer for all the 17 numbers. 5 minutes time I am giving everyone, try to feel each number. Don't mug up, feel it. Biswati, this is diagram according to XML driven Spring MVC. Yes, guys. In annotation driven Spring MVC, changes are there. Small changes are there. So if interviewer asks the question, Ajay Kumar E, handler mapping view resolver, ready-made classes, but inputs will be given by programmer. Controller view component, totally developed by programmer. But all of them will be configured as a Spring Beans. All of them will be configured as a Spring Beans. Controller and view components are totally developed by programmers. Handler mapping and view resolver, ready-made classes, but inputs will be given by programmer. But all this render method is nothing but it is one method. You don't have any question when I say dispatcher servlet calls handle request method. You have taken it. And when I say on the view object dispatcher servlet calls render method, why are you worried, dirty fellow? Why are you worried? Inside render method rd.forward logic is there. Sai Teja. Go and sit in servlet classes. Krishna's that is not star.htm pointer, dirty fellow. I have given number means it does not mean that is the point of star.htm. Krishna jump into the drainage. Look at his question. Sir, explain star.htm 6. Guys, did I give that number for star.htm? Or did I give 13 for system services? Did I give 10 for extension match URL pattern? These people completed engineering and I am giving Spring knowledge to them. Either I should jump into the drainage or they should jump into the drainage. Or I should throw entire university into my drainage. What people I am having, boss. Hats off, Rababu. Hats off. After listening entire 1 hour story, he is telling that sixth point related to star.htm. Explain. Okay, 10th point related to extension matching. Explain. That means that fellow is thinking that sixth is related to star.htm. How, where should I keep you people's brain in the which museums, boss? Send your brain to me. I will keep in the museum. Except display, no use is there for that. You are just museum pieces. Array, some space is not there. I have adjusted different numbers, different places. Okay, now they are nowhere related to star.htm or extension match. Okay. These people again become judgmental. Modi is not good. Rahul Gandhi is worst. Okay, so film stars are bad. Local politicians are bad. First, judge yourself for a dirty fellow. Completed engineering after you don't have basic analyzation. What I am trying to tell, and you become judgmental about old world. China created a virus, or some other country created coronavirus. Which country bad, which country good? You will decide everything in the world, but you never judge yourself. Dirty fellow. Okay, again, this Java boss started. Some politician is great. Just know I said not to do that work, and this guy started. Java boss, again, you are also same category. You judge yourself before judging someone. And more, I know, moreover, Java boss, I have given warning last time. Don't log in with that name, log in with some your original name. And again, you are logging with Java boss. Right. Now listen, number 6. What is 6, guys? Okay, guys. Number 6. Now listen. It submits a received bean ID. Okay, gets the controller class object from dispatcher servlet created. Dispatcher servlet created IOC container. Dispatcher servlet created IOC container. Any other numbers? Any other numbers? 12 to 16. Ajay Kumar, 12 to 16. Yes, logical view name is given to view resolver. Okay, this view resolver is configured in XML file or linked to properties file. From there, it will get the name and location of physical view, keeps that physical view name and location in view object, gives to dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet calls render method on view object. That render method internally uses rd.forward and locates and executes physical view component. As part of execution, presentation logic of physical view component executes, gather the result from request scope, formats it by using presentation logic, and sends that result to front controller servlet. And front controller servlet passes that result to browser as HTTP response. Okay. Ajay Kumar, number 6 is little bit confusing. Little bit confusing because you missed yesterday's class. Mr. Ajay Nagendra. Mr. Nagendra, did you attend yesterday's class? If you, after attending yesterday's class, if you say number 6 is confusing, your Spring Core module is very worst. Receives the bean ID of controller class. Submits to what? IOC container created by dispatcher servlet using ctx.getBean method. What I will get? Controller class object. Every day in the client application, we are calling ctx.getBean method. Here also, it calls ctx.getBean method having controller class bean ID. Which controller? This controller class bean ID. So it will get controller class object. Where is the confusion, my dear? Did I introduce any algorithm or algebra? Receives the bean ID, submits to ctx.getBean method, gets the controller class object. Who creates that ctx? Dispatcher servlet itself creates. Where it creates? In number 2 step. That is yesterday's discussion. Guys, I didn't really understand. Why are you confused in 6th number? Very easy step. Every day in client application, we are doing it. Same code will be there inside the dispatcher servlet, right? Don't hesitate. Ask any number. I don't have any problem. Except, sir, explain everything one more time. It's the 4th time I think I have completed repetition. Diagram came nicely. You need this explanation. You need this explanation. Not at all. Okay. Formatted result. Formatted results goes to HTTP servlet. In MAV object, logical name and model data results both are wrapped. Array, look at the name, model and view. In one object, two properties cannot be there. Two properties cannot carry two details. What you are asking, Mr. Prem? One object, multiple properties can be there, can have multiple details. Mav object is Mav class is having multiple properties. Some properties are there to hold results as model attributes, and some properties are there to hold logical view name. Right, right. I want you people to clarify numbers. Without seeing explanation, you should tell what number belongs to what purpose. It should be there in your blood. Today, if you understand 50%, I am happy. Another 50%, I will give code based flow. I'll introduce each component. I am going for it. I don't think diagram also very clear. If your Servlet JSP fundamentals are good, your Spring basics are good, if you attend yesterday's class, you should be in a position to visualize. Visualize. Don't worry about how to do all the things we'll discuss. Okay, boss. We configure dispatcher servlet using web.xml. Using web.xml, not using in web.xml. In web.xml as servlet component. As servlet component. We configure handler mapping. Okay. Controller classes, view resolvers, handler mapping. Multiple mappings may be there. View resolvers as Spring Beans in Spring Bean configuration file. It's a purely XML driven, guys. Right. Now listen. Can you explain? Can you explain Spring MVC flow? Spring MVC flow. Okay. Reverse question one. Ask answer. Ask reverse question. Reverse question. Reverse question. You need reverse question. What you need? What you needs? What you need? Okay. Diagram based flow or code based flow. Ask reverse question one. Diagram based flow or code based flow. Second question, once you chooses diagram or code, diagram or code, then ask second question, what you need? XML driven configuration based flow or annotation driven configurations based code. Annotation driven configurations based flow. Annotation driven configuration based flow. Are you understanding my statement, guys? What you need? XML driven configuration based flow or annotation driven configuration based flow? Okay, most of the time they choose annotation driven. Okay, 95% flow is same. Small changes will be there towards handler mapping, and controller class. Small changes will be there. So that changes I will give. Don't worry. If you don't ask, This reverse question, what is the problem, sir? For example, you told XML driven flow. He is expecting annotation driven flow, and he will think that you are not updated. Or he knows only XML driven flow. You don't know annotation driven flow, and you are giving advanced statement on annotation driven flow. He will think that you are telling wrong. Ek din ka sultan na boss. Okay, boss. Jatashankar, Jatashankar, to achieve logical view name, I already discussed this. I already suppose if a controller class is giving physical JSP name and dispatchers are like directly sending to that physical JSP, what's the problem? Tomorrow JSP file name changed. I don't know how many times I should repeat, guys. Okay, tomorrow JSP file name changed, our technology changed, then extension and file name will change, right? Then hard coding physical view name in controller class is very bad. It shows tight coupling. That's why controller class gives me what? Controller class gives me what? Logical view name through MAV, right? Okay, now Jatashankar recollected. Next, one more question. Sir, sorry to ask, interviewer know that much. Ravanye, if interviewer is subject person, subjectful person, definitely he knows. Definitely he knows. If interviewer is my student, why he will not know? I have trained nearly 3 to 4 lakh people in Java. In that one, minimum 2 lakh people I trained in Spring. From last 10 to 12 years, I am teaching Spring, my dear. So won't be there, definitely will be there. Maybe your TL, your project leader is not aware of that. In entire application, two IOC containers are created. One is DS, other one is controller. Dirty fellow. Did I say like that anywhere? Did I say like that anywhere? Why are you assuming your own thing? Two container story will come in future, Mr. Dirty fellow Shaker. That's why off knowledge is danger. Right now I am dealing with a single IOC container. Two IOC container comes later. Two IOC container later. Akshay Buse, one of my friend is working in company and he's taking interview and he's your student. Okay. Okay. Ravanye, there is no wrong of getting clarity in the question and answering, na? Ravanya, I think what's the problem with the discussion, boss? Interview with experienced people is always subject discussion. It's not like questioning and answer. And you are not a slave to company, boss. You are a guest to company. Ajay Kumar, Spring IOC container will not be created in MVC. We don't create IOC container, dirty fellow. Dispatcher servlet creates. We don't create the dirty fellow, Ajay Kumar. I think you join in Spring Basics once, Ra. What is manufacturing defect or something else? Yesterday I said we don't create. We don't create. Dispatcher servlet creates. Look at his question. Spring IOC container is not created in Spring MVC now. Ajay Kumar, urgently after the class, please jump into the drainage. I have given clarity yesterday. Today also I said, and again he came back to zero. Come on, guys. I am losing my confidence by seeing Ajay Kumar question. A view object is one object where information about physical view will be there. Ajay Kumar, read your question and come to me, boss. Everyone, please read Ajay Kumar question. Everyone, please read Ajay Kumar question. What is the meaning of that? Did he say DS created IOC container? Overall container is not created. And moreover, he's trying to protect yourself. Use that knowledge in the interview room, not with me. Okay, moreover, This is not your first innocent question without listening class. You are asking this kind of questions only throughout study. Okay. Listen, Rababu, listen. When someone is putting his blood and flesh to inject something to your brain, what's your problem to listen, Rababu? See, now I am available. That's why you are not understanding the value of the content. Okay, after joining company, there will be some third party APIs which you have to learn on your own. You won't find much content in the internet. You don't find much help from the colleagues. Then you will realize what SAR is making, how SAR is making subject easy. Sometimes content is there in the internet, but you don't know how to start to understand also. Understanding my point. So that's why when someone is putting his blood and flesh to inject something to your brain, if you don't value it, at least respect it. Anyhow, you are not respecting your parents' money. You are not worried about your time wastage. At least respect my efforts. Value my efforts. After listening entire Ramayana, I don't know how people ask who is Ramana, who is Rama. Okay. I hope I am clear on every point. Right. Tomorrow I will pick up some students. I will ask the flow. I will pick up some students. I will ask the flow. I'll just keep diagram here and I will ask to explain 1 to 4 steps. Then I will pick up another student, explain 5 to 10 steps. Don't mug up. Learn it and come. Okay. And I never may let you to mug up also. Tomorrow we will give code based flow by introducing everything, boss. By everything practically. Everything code wise I will introduce. I'll try to give code based flow. Then goosebumps will come out. I hope I am successful injecting Spring MVC flow, guys. Looking heavier. Everything clear. I am succeeded. Arvind Gaikwad, your answer no is for negative answer, positive answer. All are clear. All are clear. If not clear, also don't be panic. Every day we are going to revise this flow. Okay, tomorrow regular class is there in the evening. Morning 9 to 12, 12:30. Log 4J session 1 is there. Log 4J session 1 is there. Okay, collect the meeting ID from group. Tomorrow regular Hibernate class, 11 o'clock regular Starlight class is not there. Regular Starlight class is not there. Clear, boss? 7 a.m. Spring Boot is there. 7 a.m. Spring Boot class is there. Thank you. Have a nice time. Okay, if anyone is having meeting ID of Log4j session, please send here. Please send here. I'll share with other students. Thank you, guys. Have a nice time. I will see, boss. If you are not alert until I complete 3-4 applications of Spring MVC, I will be scolding you people like anything. Because if I don't keep this tightness in the initial days, later it's like attending Greek Latin classes of Spring MVC. Fine. Okay, Musaddiq. After listening entire Ramayana, again you are asking 9 to 11. 9 to 11, 9 to 11 Log4j tool. Thank you, guys.